the first few, I would say, part of the module will be where we will try to analyze and we'll try to talk about, and also would love to understand about your understanding about ChatGPT, and then I can share my understanding and what it is and what it does, right? And secondly, we will basically deep dive into an Python code where we will try to um, build up a model, right, which is a sentiment model using the tweets which are basically posted with respect to ChatGPT, and we'll try to do some kind of analysis, including what kind of sentiments there are, and also we'll try to have some kind of visualizations around it, right? So yeah, so that's what the agenda for today is, and I will also in the same rhythm, I will also try to introduce myself. So my name is Arpindu, and I have been associated with Ivy for some time now, for almost 6 years, being part of their as a part of their trainer in terms of their machine learning batches. And yeah, so I'm also working as a data science manager in Accenture AI, part of the marketing analytics team. And yes, today we will try to talk about this very interesting topic about ChatGPT. But before I proceed, I see a lot of you joined. So just wanted to, and let's try to make this session as interactive as possible. So first of all, I just wanted to get an headway about how many of you guys here are aware about ChatGPT, about what is a ChatGPT 3? Anyone heard? And any prior understanding? Anyone who has heard about what ChatGPT does? And you guys can ping in the chat box, and I can just read it loud. Anyone has heard about ChatGPT 3? Yeah, I see a lot of you guys. No, okay. ChatGPT 3, okay, I see Meghna has written ChatGPT is an open AI generative, is an artificial, Tanya is saying it's an artificial intelligence. Uh, I assume it's in robot, pre-trained. Roshan Saxena, pre-trained, yes, good. What else? Okay, so I think it's a trained model, Hassan, chatbot. Okay, yes, you guys are pretty good, well informed. What else? What else? Let's come up with a few more answers. And let's type it down, guys. Let's try to, even if you've not heard, you can type it down that you have not heard. That's completely fine. To produce human-like text. Wow, good. Roshan, that's a good interpretation about it. Can respond directly like a human. Yes, it does. Okay, so I think you guys are definitely have heard about it, but some of you might not have about it. So what is ChatGPT 3, and why it became so kind of phenomenal, right? So it became a buzz in the AI world, right? So it completes code and find out errors also. Yes, that's the thing that I was looking. Yes, it can even give you codes. I will show you that example right here, right now. Okay. So what ChatGPT stands for? ChatGPT stands for Chat Generative Pre-trained Transformer. Okay. So it's basically a transformer, and in context of natural language processing, it's like an if I say it in a very layman word, guys, you are just like talking to someone, and you can ask this person anything, and it's like they will give you answers, right? And it's pretty cool. And the great point about this kind of a model is that it can even give you codes, it can even give you mathematical formulas, like anything under the sun, which is really great. All right. Now, we'll do a quick demo, okay, and it will be very interesting, and we'll try to kind of circle it back with our codes that we are doing, right? But let me try to talk about it in general, and also the advent, right? So in context of deep learning, how many of you guys have sorry heard about deep learning as models? Sorry, deep learning models. Anyone of you guys? I'm sure most of you have heard about it. Deep learning models. Yes. Yes. So in deep learning models, is basically the main model that we use on neural networks. And there are different kind of neural networks like recurrent neural networks, long short-term memory, right? Transformer models, which has become extremely popular now. And there is this particular kind of models called GAN models, or generative adversarial neural networks, right? This is a very important model, and it's not like they were not existing, but they started existing, and there's a lot of buzz around it now, right? So you will see. I'm sure, like you guys have been following the World Cup, and we all have been. So you will see a lot of World Cup pictures coming up and all of that. So what the craze of GAN or generative adversarial networks came to picture. Where G basically stands for generative, right? So the word generative simply means to generate something, right? So these networks are so powerful, based on images, based on data, and all of that. You can basically generate anything, be it images, be it text, be it audio, right? So there are a lot of deep fake videos you guys are aware about. Deep fake videos. Okay, Sonali, am I audible to everyone properly? Sounding clear? I hope. Okay,
Ye-
it's clear, right? It's not having a lag and all of that.
Yeah, it's clear.
Okay, sure. Sonali, I'll request you if you can just re-log in. I'm not sure if you can hear me, but if you can just re-log in, that would be great. Okay, coming back to our topic of GAN. So another important application, or I would say not application, examples of GAN are deep fake videos, right? So maybe Putin something saying, or let's say Trump saying something, but which they are not actually saying, right? And there are a lot of deep fake videos in the internet. So the idea about all of these models is it's like they can generate images, and they can generate videos, and within that context, now ChatGPT came, right? Why it became such an revolution? Because of the fact that it was able to serve in so many purposes, and everyone started talking about it, right? So it can give you codes, you can talk, you can basically ask anything, and it gives you so much as answers, right? And we'll try to do a quick demo just right now. But just the background of it, right? What it does and how it does. So basically, ChatGPT is, as you know, it's being developed by OpenAI, and they have cracked a lot of business out of that, right? So what essentially it is, it's a chatbot, right? So we all know chatbots, right? So we like, you guys are like any of the apps, any of the standard apps, they have a chatbot, right? They are very basic chatbots, I would say. Like if you want to place a delivery and all of that, it's very, I would say, rule driven chatbots. But this is really where um uh, what you are really doing is basically being able to generate a lot of contextual information, right? Using this chatbot, you know. So OpenAI is basically the behind this great thing, and it's basically a machine learning. Basically machine learning or deep learning model, I would say. And it has been the background, or the I would say the background of it. It's trained on billions and zillions of parameters with huge loads of text corpora. So imagine everything under the which is publicly available, right? They have trained that data, trained this model on that, and through that it is basically able to generate things, right? So I will give you another simple examples, and you guys can also relate to this. So most of you guys are using Gmail, I am sure, Gmail or even Yahoo or whatever, right? So at times you will see that if you start typing something, right, it's the next line comes into picture, like hope you're doing well, or please line attach, and the other words gets filled in, right? Have you seen that? most of you, yeah. So that's basically, it's all about natural language generation, right? So it's getting autofilled and we do use it, right? So the what is happening essentially, it's the models are trained because everyone, let's say, please find, and the next word is attached, right? Because it's being trained on so many models with such kind of words that it automatically predicts that maybe the next word is attached, right? But it can be please find the, or please find anything, right? That's what the model has been trained, right? So I would say these are all the different applications, and what ChatGPT has done is basically it has kind of worked, and it has, so it's basically a no code, right? Why what is no code? No code simply means you're not coding anything, right? To access ChatGPT, you do not need to code any specific things, or you can just get anything, right? So and it's very customizable, and you can very easy to work with, and you can even get outputs from it, right? So without further ado, let's try to do a quick demo of this, right? So how many of you guys have explored the chat gpt tool here? That would be interesting to know. How many of you guys have explored the chat gpt tool? Anyone? Someone? Everyone? You? No? Gaurav? No? Meghna? Mr. Imran? Yes. Okay. Tanya? No? Not yet. Okay. Let's do a quick demo. Okay. And it will be interesting. Right. Okay. So I hope my screen is visible, right? Guys, it's visible, right?
Yes,
Yes.
it's
Perfect.
visible.
Okay. So let me just, sorry. So I am already in the chat open GPT window. So what you can do, you can just Google ChatGPT 3 and they will direct you to this chat. You just need to log in by your email address. That's it, right? So that's how I've kind of logged in. Nothing special required, right? So you will see what is ChatGPT 3, and there you have conversations and there's the light mode and all of that. And you have it's basically an app. Yeah, it gives you a feel of app, right? So let's try to do something, right? So since our topic for today is about sentiments and text analysis, right? So let's try to ask ChatGPT about let's try to ask ChatGPT about what is itself. What is ChatGPT itself, right? It's like, give me an introduction. So what is ChatGPT? Let us see what it gives me the answer. Okay. So there is no information available on a model called ChatGPT, but then it starts spelling out information that it stands for generative pre-trained transformers, which is being built by OpenAI. GPT is a type of transformer based on the model that been trained on a large text. Yes, right, large text. So that's the main thing here, large text of data, and is able to generate human-like predicting. So it's like you are conversing with someone, right? Based on the context provided. So it's basically, so you see the way it has been, it's basically that's how it was predicting, right? So, and that's how most of these model works. It just trying to predict the next word after word, right? It can be used for a lot of natural language processing tools such as language translation, question answer, and text generation. I will not possibly design for chat or conversation like context, and it's not clear about how to perform such settings. So there is some ambiguity around it, right? But that's fine. Okay. So yeah, and as I said, we can basically ask anything. So, but since our webinar is based on, I would say, sentiment analysis, let's try to ask ChatGPT about what is sentiment analysis, right? So let's see what it gives us the answer. Okay. Oh, cool. Sentiment analysis is a process of automatically identifying, extracting subjective information from text data, involves classifying the sentiment on a piece of text and negative. So you see everything is, so it's trying to gather text and predict it on a real time basis, right? What's the cool part of it, which no one says much, is also the architecture behind it, right? Because it's not like I'm just the person who is using it right at this point of time. It's built on an open site, it's an open platform, right? So it is being used at the same time accessed by millions or billions of users. You never know, right? But still, it doesn't fail, right? So you then can understand how sophisticated and how brilliantly built is this tool, right? Because most of the deep learning models, as we know, they take a lot of time. They take a lot of I would say resources to predict anything. But the architecture behind it is also very great, right? It's just not the kind of models which it uses, but also the architecture behind is also very great, right? How is different from Alexa and Siri? They do also do the same thing. Good question, Pranavi. So Alexa and Siri, yes, they are also kind of conversational agents, right? So they will also converse with you, but the I would say what so it's similar. I'll not say that it's not very different, but what's the advantage of ChatGPT is basically the information that you get, right? Is much more I would say precise, much more versatile, and it can even give you much more specific things like the one which I will show you, which you cannot get in Siri or Alexa. Okay, so let me show you that. Okay, so let's say if I am just a new beginner. Okay, I've read about sentiment analysis and all of that. Let me tell you something which is specific to ChatGPT, but not any of these bots like Siri or Google Assistant or let's say anything, right? It's all they are also bots, right? So so I'll say what is the code to build a sentiment analysis model, right? Let's see. Okay. So there's some responsibilities and modeling. Specific code will depend on the approach and tools you use. Here is an example of Python code: collect, amplify, process your data. This might involve unnecessary features, extract facts from data. One common approach is to use remove bag of words, presence of. So it's like spilling you every possible information, right? Just like someone dictating that. Okay, how do you go uh, about about doing things, right? And this is the thing which neither Siri or neither I would say Google Assistant can give you. It can give you exact codes, right? So it will tell you that you go to feature extraction, do a linear model. From there, you can take an logistic model, you can do a train and test. It's showing you exact all codes to build and model, right? You can just copy and paste, and it can. This is a simple example, right? And you can. So you see the amount of information that it gives you with a simple one-line statement that it's so structured. It is giving you a snippet of code, right? And it also gives you disclaimer, right? Uh, so that's basically this is great, right? That's what is something which is great about ChatGPT, guys. So again, this webinar is not about just ChatGPT 3. This webinar is more about sentiment analysis, but it's based on ChatGPT 3, which is very cool. I would say tool, right? So what we will do, okay, Roshan, here you go. So these are my questions that I have pinged to ChatGPT 3. Let me just ping you guys since you asked. Okay. So any questions, any thoughts, anything? I hope you liked what ChatGPT 3 is. And I will say, guys, do explore it. It's a very good, it's a very interesting tool, I would say. I'm not sure if it's good or bad, but it's a very interesting tool, right? So now what we will do, we will try to now shift gears uh, from ChatGPT 3 to sentiment analysis. Now we'll go to our favorite Python notebook and we'll try to build a model, right? So so you see, this is like the ChatGPT 3 screen. So I've just pasted like what ChatGPT 3 is, and I'm sure like now you guys know what sentiment analysis is. Why ChatGPT 3? Is it necessary? It's not necessary, Anshad. It's not something which you have to do it, but it's just like very interesting. It's very popular, right? Something becomes popular when because when it generates curiosity and when it serves purposes, right? So there are a lot of researchers now. It's like a mini Google, but it's very precise and give you so many things, right? So why Google became very famous, because you can just Google anything and try to find answers, right? So it's a similar way, yes. And okay, I was saying to ask, right, but yes, okay, Roshan, I will come to that. Okay, I didn't get a question of that. I thought you were asking about uh what questions to do, and you can type in the questions. Okay, so yeah, let's do that. Let's take that on popular request if you are. Let's do a new conversation. Okay, so how is Chat GPT 3 or 2 different from Alexa? Let's see what we have here. Okay, so according to ChatGPT 3, it just talks about what it is. We know that it's a generative pre-trained transformer built on the purposes of natural language processing. And Alexa, on the other hand, it's more of an VA, right? And it's and Yes, I think it's more going in terms of the functional usage, right? So Alexa is a virtual assistant, and ChatGPT 3 is basically a more of an response model, right, which is being developed. But yes, I think there are much more advantages or variants or applications that ChatGPT can generate, right? So yeah. So any other questions, thoughts? I hope you found this interesting. Okay. Will ChatGPT replace the need for Python developers? So there's always this question, guys, that will automation replace these data scientists? Will data engineers replace data scientists? Will full stack data scientists replace data scientists? Right? Will ChatGPT replace the need for Python developers? No, because I always feel that there's someone like you and me who's developing these kind of tools, and uh, for developing these tools, we are required, right? So and it's not that it's just like one thing and everything is solved by this, right? So that's there is nothing like to be that everything will now be, and companies will just use this tool and get every answer to their question. That can never happen, right? Because there's always a source of creativity which is not there in just trained models, right? So, but yes, I think there is a lot of focus on technology, automation, integration, machine learning operations. Just like DevOps, there is MLOps, and a lot of buzz around it, right? So I think if you want to see it from the other side, you should see it like, can I get these skills? Can I now know what a transformer model is? Can I know like what an MLOps is? Can I know what an architecture is, right? So you pick up the right skills and you get in yourself in demand, right? So I think you should see this from a different angle, rather than saying like, okay, this tool is developed and uh, this will kind of delete or uh, my my entire role, right? So that's not what is happening. So okay, now let's, in the interest of time, I will go into the code. Okay, but any other questions? Any other questions, guys? In which scenarios is it different from search engines? Okay, Gaurav and Imran, you asked the same question. So again, I'm sure all of you, we all are aware of what Google does, right? And so what Google does essentially, Google basically collates different websites, right? And it's a search engine. Google is not an it's not an NLP based model, right? ChatGPT 3 is a model, right? It's a machine learning model. Google is not a model. It's a search engine, right? And which scenarios is different from Google? Obviously, uh, in a lot of scenarios, right? Because when you're trying to get some specific task, when you're trying to get answers, or when you want to generate certain responses, even codes, exact codes, that I think in those scenarios you can basically use in ChatGPT 3. So anything around, so ChatGPT 3 I think is more centered around the data science context. Obviously, you can also get answers to other things, but Google is, I would say, just more like a search engine where you're trying to have a more holistic or more larger requirements to search anything, right? But ChatGPT is more about very focused around being learned from a lot of words, and it's trying to forecast from that, right? So yeah, so that's that. I hope Gaurav and Imran, I was able to answer your questions, but let me know if any other questions. Okay, but at the same time, let's also try to go into the codes. Okay, so okay, so now let me just, for the next 5 minutes, again, the objective of this bootcamp is just to generate interest about what all things are happening specifically in the world of natural language processing, or NLP, right? So one of the important applications of NLP that has existed for quite some time now is sentiment analysis, right? What sentiment analysis is, it's simply, in a very simple word, it simply means that what's the emotion behind a sentence, right? So I will say this webinar was very good. It gave me some important, some new, I would say, concepts, right? What's the sentiment around this kind of text? Good, right? I will say good, right? But yes, exactly, positive. But something like, okay, this webinar was same as in other webinars, nothing new. What do you think this kind of an emotion is? Neutral, right? Something like this. This webinar was trash. No one spoke about the topic, right? So that's basically becomes a negative, right? Now the application of sentiment analysis becomes very important, especially for a lot of things, right? So specifically from business perspective, uh, especially in social media, right? So there's a lot of right now there's a lot of linkage between the customer and the companies, right? So if the customer feels good about, or sorry, if the consumer feels good about something, they will tweet something, they will post images in the social media, right? And there's a lot of buzz. So you will see a lot of campaigns happen in social media, and we also subconsciously, consciously consume it, right? So companies basically focus a lot upon what kind of trends are going, whether it's a positive trend, whether it's a negative, neutral, what kind of trends are going, right? So it's a lot of yes, Roshan, Cambridge Analytica case, right? So lot of but the downside of it is that, and that has become something which has become very prominent now in this age, is about data privacy, right? So and that's what something I will come to now, that so for example, if I'm tweeting something or you are tweeting something, can I access that data, right? What kind of data can I access, right? There's a lot of cookie issues, so can you access that cookies, or there's a lot of data issues, right? So or data privacy, so which means like if I'm tweeting, will is that a public data, is that an private data, what kind of data is, right? So there's a lot of you will see encryptions and a lot of privacy statements that you will see, right? And these companies like Meta or Twitter, they come into all of this thing that if their data is private or not, you know. So yeah, that's the downside of it, right? So you never know what kind of data is private and what kind of data is not. But then that's not, and we are not getting to that debate, but more about like what sentiment analysis. So yeah, that's what it is. Basically, understanding the underlying emotion of it and why sentiment analysis is important. Yes, I think it's to be in a very simple word, you are trying to analyze on a real time what's the emotion, because a lot of times this emotion drives the purchases, right? From a company's perspective, right? So they can build brands, they can break brands, and they can drive or reduce the purchase, right? So that's why sentiment analysis is important, right? Uh, Now, how does sentiment analysis work, right? So there are a lot of, I would say, steps of working on there's a lot of, I would say, key steps on sentiment analysis, right? But the most important, I would say, two steps are there, which we have kind of written down here. One is basically what we say as bag of words model. How many types of analysis we have? Yeah. So these are all kind of examples of NLP or natural language processing. So there is something called sentiment analysis. There is something called named entity recognition, right? There is something called text topic modeling, right? So there are different kind of, I would say, analysis, right? It depends upon the use case, right? And these are all analysis which can be categorized into three big heads. So one is, let me write it down here. So one is basically we say as NLP, right? The second is what we say as NLG or natural language generation, right? And the third is basically, let me write it here. The third is, okay. So first is NLP, second is NLG, right, or natural language generation, and third is basically NLU, right, which is natural language understanding. So NLP is the one which we are talking right now. You are processing the text, you are generating the uh, images and all of that, right? And you're generating or pre-processing the text, right? Natural language generation is more about you are generating the text, right? Just like the one which we are talking about, what chat GPT, right? Natural language understanding is more about Alexa, right? So you are talking to Alexa and it's understanding and it's responding, right? So that's under what NLU is, right? So there are the three main buckets of, I would say, natural language, and within NLP, one of the important applications is basically your sentiment analysis, right? So so coming back to the sentiment analysis, there are obviously different kind of models. So I will not go into the deep of each of these models. In itself, they're kind of there are a lot of, I would say, nuances around it. But just to give you a very I would say, intuition about what bag of words is. So it's basically nothing but in frequency count, right? So let's say if what it does, let's say if you have a corpus of text, right? So and you have, let's say, word one, word two, and so on and so forth, right? Basically, it tries to, and let's say there is a document one, document two, document three, and so on and so forth, right? It tries to, get a frequency count of what these what's the frequency count of word one in document one, what is the frequency count of word two in document one, and so on and so forth, right? So that is what we say as bag of words, or BOW, right? So that's what it does. And through that, it basically tries to understand, like, and through those bag of words, it tries to understand that whether uh, what are the most important words, and trying to understand the sentiment around it, right? Using NLP basically attempts to truly understand the text, right? So that's what the intent of NLP is. So one of the important tasks of any NLP is to clean the text object, right? So I will come to those few key steps, right? So what we will do here is, guys, we will be accessing some tweets, right? So I've already accessed the tweets right now, just in interest of time. But we have, this is basically so in your Twitter profile, you can basically have something like a developer API. So you can create and developer API, and you can generate these tokens, right? And keys. And in Python, there is this great package called PP, right? And it's a pretty, I would say, established on old package. It's not a new one. By through which you can basically extract tweets, real-time tweets from obviously Twitter, right? And you can also give a lot of things like how many tweets you can extract, right? You can also put, like, if you want to extract from a particular country and all of that, right? From You can also tell that extract for last 2 days, last 3 days, and so on and so forth, right? So you can do all of that. But one of the important restriction of this package now has become that there is a certain restriction, or I would say limitation, right? What is a limitation? Limitation is basically how many tweets you can extract on the real time. So it is not that if you install this package, you can extract 1,000 tweets every day. So once there is a limit, right? Once the limit is crossed, you cannot. So it's like an open source package, and if you want to extract more, you need to connect. You need to connect to Twitter, and you need to ask them why are you extracting and given proper proof around it and all of that, right? So it's basically a lot of legal requirements, I would say, right? But in a normal version, I think there's a certain free amount which you can by which you can extract, right? So right now I've just extracted this not so that I'm not hitting the website every time. So basically these are the packages, and if you do not have it installed in your Python, you can just do an pip install 3p, and there's the word cloud with just to uh, you know visualize the words which you are getting, and you can specify these access token, token secret, and consumer key and consumer secret, right? And these are the two uh, major I would say uh, two major things which so it what it will do, it will take your Twitter handle, right? It will take your key and consumer secret and an access token secret, and it will try to build a connection with your Twitter, right? And then using this connection that you do in search dot tweets, this is the let's say I want to search on ChatGPT 3. I want to search only 100 tweets. That's it. I want to search only language English. Tweet mode is extended, which means any kind of extended tweets, or 2 or 3 tweets. 3 tweets can also be uh, kind of be imported, right? And then what I'm doing is just I'm trying to import everything in a tweet data frame, right? This is an empty data frame, right? So I've already done that. So what I will do, and I just load it in here, and I will let me show you that tweet. So this is like the tweets that we have. So if you see this is the date, right? So these tweets are for today's date, December 22, and you have an ID, which is of the Twitter person ID, and you have the text, you have the text name, you have certain hashtags, metadata, and there are certain references, right? So let us also show you what kind of columns do we have in this, right? So let me just show you that. So these are the different kind of columns or attributes that you get. You have created at, which is a date. You have ID, which is unique identifier ID string. Full text is a tweet. Truncated text, display text strings. Entities are like any hashtags. If you have metadata is again metadata about the tweet source. These are again kind of more of Twitter additional attributes. Geo is important. From geo, you can extract the geography. You have the exact coordinates from where that tweet has been given. You have the exact place from where that tweet has been done. How many retweets has been done? Any retweets count, favorites count, favorited, retweeted, whether it's retweeted or a favorited kind of in tweet, right? Extended entities, possibly sensitive. You have in flag, right? And you have in quoted status, right? So these are again kind of Twitter attributes. But I would say if in context of important attributes which you have, obviously full text is the important one. Then geography is the important one. Coordinates, place you can give, and you can visualize it in terms of like geography of places, right? From which brand, what kind of tweets are there. You can also know if there are retweeted, what kind of retweet count, which just show the popularity of tweets, right? Favorite count, you know. So all of that, right? So I would say these are the key columns, but right now we are just focusing upon full text just to understand the nature of tweets that we are getting, right? So, did you generate the columns? No, I did not generate. These are all part of the 2EP extraction. Okay, so when we extract it, so that's the columns that we are getting, right? So it's just part of the package. It's just part return of the output that we are generating. You know? So let's extract some unique and let's see what kind of tweets that we have. So ChatGPT is a perfect companion for those who want to have conversation without having to think of anything to say. Then there's something like gonna save everyone hours of 200 pages. Here's the reading time by asking ChatGPT, right? So just someone wants keeping the capital constant innovation invention as unique advantage of this. successful technology. So there are different kind of tweets, and these are like some of the tweets that we have. But the purpose of this is like, let's say if you have these tweets, let's try to clean them up and visualize them, like just have more of a summary out of it, right? So out of that, uh, if the main, and if I have this handy here, you will see that, let me go back and let me connect a new chat, that sentiment analysis code in Python. Okay, so you will see that what ChatGPT gives is give me, again, it's again first giving some kind of verbose, and that is fine, text block and all of that, right? We are also using text block, right? And then it's using the sentiment polarity, right? So using sentiment polarity, you can basically discuss, understand whether it's in positive sentiment, neutral, or negative sentiment, right? So you see prints negative, prints neutral, right? So the similar package we will be using, right? The text block library. And using that, we'll try to same create an polarity score. And if the score is less than zero, we are saying it's negative. If it's equal to zero, it's neutral. And if it's greater than zero, it's positive, right? We- Also, we are trying to do some kind of pre-processing, right? Which means we are cleaning the text by removing all of these like punctuation marks and identifiers and so on and so forth, right? And what lemmatization is. So first of all, we are trying to remove everything which is not alphabets. So that's what it is doing here, right? And what we are doing here is basically we are creating a lemmatized word. What is lemmatization? Very simply put, it is simply generating an root word. So to give you an example, let's say when the word is playing, right? Let's say the word is played, right? Let's say the word is plays. What is the root word you guys think of all of this? What is the root word of all of this? Play, right? So that's what lemmatization does. It basically tries to find a root word, and that's the word that it keeps, right? Just not so that's how you kind of reduce the dimensions of it, right? So that's this basically this function, the sentiment analysis function, and we'll try to apply this function as an column, right, onto my full text, and it as an function, right? So now let's try to do that in here. Now you will see for each uh, sentiment I have, for each text or each tweet, I have a sentiment, right? Like positive, neutral, negative, and how it has been calculated just based on this polarity score. And this polarity score is being applied on the clean word, right? And based on that, it's trying to generate a sentiment, right? So once we have this, let's now try to do some kind of visualization, right? So what we are doing in here, just to give you an overview, is like we are trying to create some very simple basic charts about what kind of frequency count of. So we have a total of 100 tweets, right? 100 tweets, and those 100 tweets are now divided into positive, neutral, and negative. So you see, obviously, the more is positive, followed by neutral. Obviously, there are around 15 of the tweets which are have negative polarity, right? And that's just a pie chart of the same, just a distribution of the same. So we know that most of the people are talking either positive or they're neutral about ChatGPT, right? We can also do some kind of word cloud. Let's try to do that. Like let's try. So what is word cloud? It basically tries to understand like what is the frequency, based on the frequency count. It will try to check like what is getting repeated the max. So you see here right now, these are a very not a clean text, right? Why not a clean text? That's because you will see all of these uh, things, right? It's just not only text. So for that, what we are doing in here is we are trying to clean the data. So we are converting into lowercase. Then we are removing any kind of usernames. We are removing the URLs. We are deleting everything which is not a character, right? We're also removing anything which is less than 4 characters, like was, add, the. So these are basically the stop words. And we are also removing the text. right? So from this text, right, which is very untidy for my model to understand, I'm getting a more clean text, right? So which is just the text that I want, you know. So that is something that is very important in context of doing any kind of natural language processing task, right? And once we have done this, we are basically generating some word clouds, right? Just to know like what kind of frequency, or what is the kind of buzzwords that is part of this, right? So here, if you see, we have created an custom stop words. What are stop words, guys? So in any text, you have words like a, the, was, right, so on and so forth. So right, all of these. And generally in any of these text, you will see that a lot of times these words comes a lot of when their frequency is very high, right? And you would want not to see the word cloud based on these words or these text, right? So obviously we would want something which is more clean. So hence what we do here is we create an custom stop words, and we what we and we and what we also add also chat gpt and openai, because obviously chat gpt will be coming too many times, right? And then we create an word cloud image, right, where we have kept the max words, which is 100, max font size is 500. Font step 2 is basically like what is the gap between the words. Custom stop words, we have removed background color is white, height and width we have, and we are using the tweets text clean, which is nothing but this data, right, that we had. है So let's try to generate the word clouds now using the clean data, using the tweets that we extracted. It might take some time, but yes, that's how it is, right? So think uh, written hours, thesis, right? Great, internet pages, dangerous, right? Chatbot. Yeah, these are, I would say, the different kind of words which are associated with the tweets, right? And we also know that what is the general sentiment about these tweets? The general sentiment about these tweets are either it is positive or it is neutral in nature, right? So obviously we can do much more analysis with these tweets, just not like extracting the sentiments and generating word clouds, but obviously we can do much more. Like we can build more better models. Like we can build some actual machine learning models based on the nature of this of the tweet, and predict the sentiment around, right? But this is more of an, I would say, vanilla model where we have used the sentiment polarity to generate the sentiments, right? And there are there are much more advanced methods also to clean the tweets, right? Uh, just like you can use TF-IDF vectorizers, you can use stemming, right? You can use n-grams. So there are multiple other ways. So obviously, once we have a discussion around NLP itself, we'll try to talk about all of these steps in more detail. But yes, so that's how you can basically extract any tweets from web in a real-time basis, right? And generate a lot of insights. So basically, we generated this, right? A lot of this kind of text. We just had this full text, and it had a lot of user IDs and all of that, right? URLs. So what we did, we basically extracted firstly, obviously, and then what we created an polarity score, and based on that, we tag the sentiment for that full text, and then we cleaned the data, right? Which means when I say clean, we converted into lowercase, we removed any kind of Twitter names, Twitter strings, anything which was not characters like alphanumeric, right? And removed anything which was less than four characters. And then basically we got our final text. And this text became so in the chat GPT also, right? Something like that is all only happening. So it's being trained on a lot of, I would say, text data, but which might not be clean data. So a lot of cleaning and pre-processing happens. And post that pre-processing, this kind of data which is getting into the model for predictions, right? Here we are not predicting anything. Here we are simply generating word clouds from it, right? So that's what I think we are getting out of it. is that the majority of the tweets are generally positive or neutral in nature, right? So yeah, I think that's but on the in sentence, how they decide which word to associate to a sentiment? So Pranavi, good question. How does it decides which word to associate to a sentiment? So it basically looks for certain words, right? So polarities thing has got like good or bad, right? So these, if it's a good, if it finds that in a sentence the words are like good or which are generally associated with adjectives which are positive, then it will give you a higher polarity score, which means it will become a positive sentiment. Whereas if it's negative words, right, like not good, bad, uh, then it will give you a lower polarity score, which means it becomes negative. So are the sensitive words pre-labeled? No, sentiments are not pre-labeled here. It's big, it's basically getting generated on the go based on the nature of the text that we have. We do not have any pre-trained labels, whether if it's a positive sentiment or a negative sentiment. The polarity is body trained exactly. Yes, and based on that, it is trying to predict the sentiment of the tweet in question. Okay, I think we are almost in time. So yeah, I think there was another question regarding the video being available. Yes, so this I think is also being, we are live on YouTube, and you guys can you guys, this video will be in the channel of Ivy, right? So you guys can always go back, feel free to watch it again, share with your friends. But I think yes, that was the intent of this, 1 hour session, is to make you guys aware of what ChatGPT 3 is, being making you guys just run through the bot, and then trying to extract some tweets, real time tweets using VP, and clean them and generate some very fast insights using word cloud and sentiment analysis, right? So yeah, before I close, uh, I hope you guys I like the content. In case if you liked it, so do obviously like it. And I'm open to any kind of questions you guys have. So let me know. Any thoughts, any questions, feel free to ask. That's a positive sentiment. Yeah. Okay. That's that's a good point. Okay, we have some positive sentiments. What about others? Is it more of neutral, positive, bad? I hope the sentiment was positive. Most of you. But yes, you guys will also have the access to the recorded video as was pointed by Manjula. So you guys can get in touch on this number, which is 9748442111, for this session and for the videos, right? So you can always get in touch, right? So okay, so good to see some positives in the chat and the comments. So yeah, I think that's all, guys, for today. That's all I just wanted to present to you guys. But I hope you guys liked it. I'm sure you guys will try out Open ChatGPT 3 and do explore it. It has got a lot of things. Do explore on the codes perspective. That's very interesting part of it, and also explore this particular package called Creepy, and also try to do some kind of extraction. Make sure that you're not extracting too much, otherwise there can be bans on your account. So don't do much of scraping of tweets, but yes, within an level is always good.
Thank you so much, Arpendo. It was very, I'm sure it was very insightful for all the people who attended it. Thank you so much for attending this session. And we are at the last end of the calendar year. So let's start the next year with data science, bringing it to your life, I hope. So our next batch is starting from 8th of Jan. And we request anybody who is interested to take the benefit of our early bird offer, where we will be able to give you good discounts. So please get in touch with us for more information on this. And hope to see you tomorrow again. Again, we have a bootcamp session tomorrow. Ivy always endeavors to, keep holding these kind of boot camps for the benefit and for educating people who are interested in this field. So thank you so much for coming.